this amazing night. Amazing night. Shout out to all of the runoff winners. I do want to take a couple minutes to say something. As many of you know, I am friends, very dear friends, brother and sister type friends with Kelvin King and Janelle King. Kelvin did not get into a runoff. It's Vernon Jones and Tim Fleming. Reached out to Vernon to see if he'd call in. But I endorsed Kelvin, and I want to take a minute or two just to say to them personally, they are my brother and my sister. He ran a very good race. He put in the work. It did not turn out as many of us wanted it to, and all the voters for Kelvin. But now we are in a runoff between Tim Fleming and Vernon Jones, and people have to make their decisions. I'm going to take a couple days to make that decision, but I want my brother and sister to know that I love them dearly. They are my brother and my sister. It did not turn out the way many of us wanted it to, unfortunately, but I love them more than I could ever love them, and I love them now more than ever before. And I love you both very, very much. I want to talk about a story that's pretty interesting. Oh, by the way, for those sports fans out there, Knicks were down 22 with 7 minutes to go and took Cleveland to overtime, and they just beat up in overtime. Knicks won game one versus Cleveland. Big comeback, one of the biggest comebacks ever in NBA playoff history, at least in the conference finals history. So we had two overtime game ones in the East and Western Conference finals. Just want to keep you, I know many of you like sports, want to keep you up to date on that. So Knicks take game one after being down 22 with 7 minutes to go at the Garden. They came back and won. So shout out to all the Knicks fans out there. So the NAACP, with all the redistricting going on, the NAACP, I think I'm running into that wall, Colby. The NAACP is encouraging football players, basketball players, not to go to schools that are in the South, mostly in the South, all in the South, mostly all SEC teams as well, but most of the teams in the South, and that encompasses, as you know, most of the big schools. The bigger schools are going to be SEC schools. I'm not sure that I agree with it, but I do understand it. But they tried this before. They did try this before, telling players not to go to these big schools in the South, especially when Trump won the first time. That's the first time they had tried this messaging. I understand it. I don't agree with it, especially with NIL money out there. Because here's what's going on. No one, as we saw tonight here in Georgia, right? No one's right to vote has been compromised, okay? No one's right. You just saw an African-American woman, a former mayor in Keisha Lance Bottoms, win outright, right? So no one's right to vote was compromised. And Fulton County's it's been released at 11, so we'll see what that did for the numbers. We'll scroll down. I'll tell you that in a couple minutes because they should have released that at 11 o'clock, so we'll see what impact that had. But for the most part, we didn't see anybody's right to vote be blocked, okay? And so I don't agree with the NAACP telling young African-American players, especially with NIL money out there. Now, let's be clear. 10 years ago, 5 years ago, maybe. Right? Because no one's getting paid. Now college sports, particularly college football and college basketball, you may not make the pros, but your life can change with NIL money. And a lot of that NIL money are coming from the bigger conferences, the SEC being the biggest. And to tell a young African-American man, more than likely coming from a poor family to turn down that money because you, NAACP, are losing influence and power is a sacrifice you're asking some family to make that really has no bearing on them. It really doesn't. It's one thing if you can show, let's say, a district like the Memphis district headed by Steve Cohen. It's one thing if you could show that that district was making all of these gains and everything was going well and they just took it all away. No, that wasn't the case. If you're a football player in Memphis, Tennessee, and you lived in Steve Cohen's district, your grandma was poor, your mom's poor, now you're poor. And you're telling that kid now to not take advantage of millions of dollars in NIL money to go play at, say, University of Georgia or LSU or University of Tennessee? That's madness. And it's selfish. Because the truth of the matter is, beyond all the rhetoric of screaming, they gutted the Voting Rights Act. They took away our right to... No, that did not happen. They took power away from a select few people who are being put in charge for several decades, or not several decades, but for several terms, 14, 15, 16, 17, 20-year terms, and doing nothing for the people. And before you say these states are run by Republicans, understand Democrats have been in charge of the House. There have been several moments in time in history, several election cycles, where the Democrats had the presidency, the House, and the Senate. And still nothing has changed for these districts headed by African Americans that may be redrawn right now. Yet you're asking these kids that come from moderate, if not poverty situations, where sports is their only out. You're saying, hey, don't go to University of Georgia. Don't go to University of Tennessee. Don't go to University of Texas. Turn down the $3 or $4 or $6, $5 or $6, $7 million and go to an HBCU. Well, what kind of message is that? No, young man. No, young lady. Because it exists. NIL money exists for women players also. No. Get the money. Impact the change with the NIL money if you want to impact change. But get the money. This is not 1960. It's 2026. The only people that's losing influence and power in this situation of redistricting are the people who were put in charge like overseers over a community for decades to simply be a face and a representation, but no power. And that's not your responsibility, NCAA Division I football and basketball players. The Shelley Winter Show. We're going to midnight. We'll come back with more breakdown of the races. 448-720-0750, 1-800-WSB-TALK.